I want to drain the ocean. You see, I am deathly afraid of huge bodies of water, and that got me thinking, what is H2O's biggest enemy? Fire, pollution, the Wicked Witch of the West. All good answers, but no, it's... Now, like the dumbass that I am, I tried doing this all in one go, but ChatGPT really hates ambitious ideas for some reason. So then I tried generating the novel in pieces, but that came with its own set of problems. Obviously, there's a lot of growing pain, which is why we need to start off small. So I asked the AI to generate a short story without the 10 least most common words. I know it's confusing, it's basically words 91 through 100 in this table. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Although the text itself is hot doo-doo on a stick. Seriously, who starts a sentence with fresh air filled every breath, or Colin laughs softly, watch curious sniffing? I also tried this out on Gemini and got slightly better results. But both these stories have one glaring issue. They're boring as fuck, man, which is partially my fault because of the story I told to write. Let's make sure the sentences flow well together and there's an actual plot this time. ChatGPT's generation is definitely looking a lot better now. There's actually some tension and a relatively interesting plot about a lost kitten. And as for Gemini, let's use 3.1 Pro with extended thinking. Maybe it'll help us drain the ocean faster. Yeah, definitely a more coherent output. Now generate a story without the 50 least frequent most common words. Or put another way, words 51 through 100 in the table.
That's a lot of fish.
And we're still getting pretty good results, even though Gemini is using very basic sentences that are all about the same length. But I don't know if you noticed, but there's a pretty small issue, a very insignificant problem really, and it's this really cool feature AI has where every once in a while it'll do the complete opposite of what you want, meaning I have to manually verify that the output doesn't contain the words I specifically told it not to include. Look, I'm no expert, but doing this for a whole novel would take too much time, and I'm a degenerate. So instead of prompting an AI from the UI like a madman, I'm going to spend the whole day writing a script that calls an API instead. And we're going to use Gemini because it's free and ChatGPT doesn't have a free version. Thanks a lot, Sam Altman. Alright, let's generate this API key and add it as an environment variable. And let's copy this piece of code. What does it do? No idea, but it's definitely going to work first try. No API key was provided. Okay, well this is embarrassing.
2 hours later.
Yeah, not really sure what's going on, and I refuse to take responsibility. My API key isn't detected when I click the run button, but the terminal works just fine. So I guess there's going to be a lot of extra button mashing in this video. The sample prompt is, explain how AI works in a few words.
AI analyzes massive data, recognizes patterns, and makes predictions.
Oh, okay. So basically plagiarism marked as something unique. Thanks for the heads up, Gemini. So I put together a basic Python script that calls the API, a JSON file that contains extensive prompt directions, and of course the word list which I add by hand. Is there a more efficient way of doing this? Probably. Do I care? Now, as a wise old fart once said, a determined man never declares war upon the ocean until he has conquered the puddle. So let's generate another short story without words 91 through 100 to test my script. Write a story about a man who is going on a date with a woman in a fancy restaurant. Here's our characters. We have Julian, an awkward simp who somehow has no money to his name despite being an accountant. Yeah, I shouldn't have suggested a fancy restaurant, Julian. You're living way above your means right now. There's also Clara, a girl that seems very reserved and pleasant on the surface, but probably gets freaky in the sheets. These two are definitely made for each other. Oh yeah, we also have the waiter, Monsieur Dupont, whose only purpose in the story is to give Julian an aneurysm or something. And the setting is a restaurant's rooftop on a Friday evening with some nice jazz playing in the background. How romantic. It looks like I've already hit a rate limit without even generating the story's introduction. For my current model, which is Gemini 3.5 Flash, I can only make a max of 5 requests per minute, which I hit. And I think I may have exceeded the number of requests I'm allocated in a whole day. And yes, I was playing around with it before recording, which is why I already hit that limit. Looks like I have 20 requests per day, so I guess we have to find a different model. This is Gemini 3.1 Pro preview that we saw in the UI. Never mind, it's not available to me. Gemini 2.5 Flashlight, this model isn't available to you. Normal 2.5, this model isn't available to you. Okay, Gemini 3.1 Flashlight. First thing I'm noticing is that the dialogue between these two is very, weird.
I recognize your soul.
Alina whispers.
Let's walk.
Arthur says.
Walk with me.
Streetlights look beautiful.
Time moves fast.
Look, a bench.
I haven't seen one of those since 1876. I think I've seen more personality from a wet blanket. Also, I don't know if Arthur is secretly on second date, but it looks like Clara is also in the story, which is weird because I thought the date was with Alina. The cheating with Clara definitely spiced things up, so I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. Then I spent the next hour cleaning things up, along with making sure the omitted words were excluded from the story. Okay, I think I might have broke it. This is never gonna end, is it? The checker did catch Gemini trying to use the word these, so the way I prevent certain words from appearing in the story is pretty crude if I'm being honest. I'm essentially using a loop that theoretically runs forever until Gemini stops being a little bitch and gives me what I want. Either that, or I max out my tokens, only to return the very next day to torture the model again. Okay, looks like none of the words appear in the generations. And for those of you who watched my other AI book video, you're probably wondering why I don't mask certain tokens. Well, that idea goes down the shit in this case. For example, if I didn't want the word this, but the model used two tokens, th and is, to form the word, I would have to mask both tokens. But that means any word containing th or is will also be penalized, meaning I probably wouldn't get words like the, is, or them either. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is that this script is literally the equivalent of forcing your friend to stay up all night asking Gemini to recursively generate the next part of the book without certain words, and then having him check each and every one of those words by you. Before generating a very interesting and emotional roller coaster of a novel, I'm going to try a few experiments with these 100 words. For the first one, let's see what happens when we tell it not to use words 51 through 100. Okay, something I've noticed about these generations is that it loves using the same character names, which is kind of lame, Gemini, but I like you because your API is free, so I'll let it slide. I also like how it describes the golden retriever of all dogs as grumpy. Very interesting. Okay, sentences are still short, but it's definitely better than before since the story isn't repeating anymore. So the first paragraph is describing who the family is, including grumpy dog. Next sentence talks about driving to their destination, then they set the tent up, go to sleep, then eat breakfast in the morning. Yeah, pretty basic yet coherent story. Let's move on to excluding the top 10 most common words. This one I'm kind of worried about because we have words like the and which are in like every sentence. Write a story about a guy who dances a lot. I honestly have no good story ideas at this point. Okay, let's check it out. Surprisingly, Gemini is still using complete sentences, and there's some kind of story. I think. It's literally some guy named Arthur who just seems to dance everywhere. Disco floors, tall buildings, subways, sidewalks, bustling intersections, and abandoned warehouses, apparently. Pedestrians watch confusedly. Yeah, I'd probably be pretty confused too if someone just started breakdancing for no reason. And I just love the ending to this story. Arthur remains perfectly rhythmic. Forever. This sounds like the plot to a C-tier horror film, but that's enough fooling around. Let's see what happens when we remove all 100 of these words. Write a story about someone who wants to learn a new skill. This is going to take a while. And as I waited for the AI to write the story of a lifetime, I thought to myself, the next time I look out the window, the world will be a completely different place. For I will have conquered my mortal enemy, the bane of my existence, the Baba Yaga that keeps me up at night, the ocean. And as I stared outside, I could see everything taking shape. Until I hit another fucking rate limit. How many words is that? 10,000 words? That's like nothing. Not even enough to drain a small puddle. Okay, we'll wait until tomorrow. Okay, so remember how I said I wasn't going to spend money in this video? Well, guess who decided to spread lies? Yep, this guy. This will allow me to generate the whole story uninterrupted. Plus, I can use Gemini 3.1 Pro, so that's cool. For this new prompt, let's make Star Wars. Oh boy, I am so excited to see how this turns out. So that took like an hour and a half, but it's done. Okay, so the story is a little over 90,000 words. I mean, 7,000 extra words, that's like nothing. There's over 9,000 sentences. The reading level is college graduate. Wow. And it would take about 6 whole hours to read this thing. And looking at the keywords here, I'm not seeing any commonly used words like the or so it passed the biggest test. But obviously we have to check the actual plot and flow of the story. Because honestly guys, not sure if it's just me, but I'm not really in the mood to read 6 hours of AI slop. This text reads less like a novel and more like a procedural generation experiment. No duh, you wrote the whole thing, Gemini. It's a retelling of Star Wars. Okay, yes, thank you, Captain Obvious. The story doesn't make any sense. Well, that's not good. The timeline continuously resets, most sentences follow a similar sentence structure, there's too many adjectives, and the sentences are all about the same length. That's exactly what I was trying to prevent in my prompts. So, looks like Gemini isn't the best at writing a full-length novel without the top 100 most common English words. Either that, or my prompts just suck, so any feedback for how to make them better is appreciated. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I may not have achieved my ultimate goal of becoming a supervillain, but I did learn that publishers have one of the hardest jobs on this planet. I can only imagine the garbage they have to read through. Oh, I'm also thinking about making more AI and bot-related content in the future, along with some pretty unhinged ideas, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. Anyways, until next time, thanks for watching.